What happens when a harmless backstage podcast suddenly exposes the uncomfortable truth about celebrity obsession, live television politics, and the desperate need to look cool in front of Hollywood legends? Nobody in that studio expected a casual Cinco de Mayo episode to spiral into one of the most brutally honest conversations ever caught behind the scenes of daytime television. The cameras were already rolling when Joy Behar walked into the studio wearing a blue jean jacket that had apparently become something of a lucky charm. The atmosphere was relaxed. Coffee cups sat scattered across the desk. Producers moved quietly in the background. It was supposed to be an easy podcast episode after a long day on television. Brian Teta sat across from Joy, grinning nervously. "Webby winter jean jacket, Joy," he joked. Joy smirked and adjusted the jacket proudly. At first, everything felt playful. But within moments, the conversation took a turn nobody expected. Brian suddenly admitted he had bones to pick with Joy. Real complaints. Genuine frustration that had apparently been building for years. Joy looked confused. "What did I do now?" she asked. Brian leaned forward. "You make me look pathetic in front of celebrities." Joy burst out laughing immediately. But Brian wasn't joking. He explained that every time one of his favorite actors appeared on the show, Joy had a habit of exposing him as some obsessive superfan right in front of them. According to him, it completely destroyed any chance of looking professional or impressive. "You make me sound like a guy sitting alone in a basement watching reruns all day," he complained. Joy could barely contain herself. "Well, if the shoe fits," the room exploded with laughter. But Brian kept going. He explained that he genuinely admired actors and performers he grew up watching, especially stars connected to The Sopranos. Anytime someone from that world appeared on the show, he instantly became nervous. And that's when Joy always struck. "She tells them I'm their biggest fan," Brian said. "Suddenly I look creepy." Joy shrugged casually. "They don't even know who you are anyway." That line hit like a truck. Even Brian started laughing because of how brutally honest it was. Then he told the story that changed the entire tone of the podcast. Years earlier, Brian attended an exclusive Hollywood reporter party. The room was packed with actors, producers, and executives. Everyone was networking carefully, trying to look calm and important. And then he spotted Ralph Macchio. For Brian, this was huge. He had grown up worshiping the Karate Kid. But this time, he was determined not to act like a fan. He wanted to appear confident, sophisticated, like someone who belonged in that world. So he approached Ralph carefully. And somehow it worked. The conversation flowed naturally. They talked about sports, Long Island, family, life. Brian never once mentioned Karate Kid. Never referenced Cobra Kai. Never acted starstruck. For several glorious minutes, he genuinely believed he had pulled it off. Then Ralph smiled and said something that sent Brian's confidence through the roof. "You should come out to Long Island sometime," Ralph told him. Brian was stunned. In his mind, this was it. He had crossed over from fan to friend. And then disaster struck. Out of nowhere, a producer named Candy Carter walked over and wrapped her arms around both of them. And then she delivered the sentence that destroyed everything. "He's the biggest Karate Kid fan in the world." Brian physically slumped in his chair while retelling the moment. According to him, Ralph's entire face changed instantly. The connection disappeared. The coolness vanished. And suddenly Brian was just another obsessed fan asking for attention. It was over, Brian admitted dramatically. Joy was crying laughing by this point. But beneath the comedy, something deeper was happening. The conversation had accidentally exposed something painfully human. The desperate need people have to feel respected by those they admire. Brian didn't just want celebrities to like him. He wanted them to see him as an equal. And Joy knew it. That's why she kept teasing him mercilessly. But the emotional chaos was only beginning. Because once the celebrity stories ended, the conversation became far more personal. And much more uncomfortable. As the laughter settled down, the conversation shifted toward the day's live television broadcast. Earlier that morning, the panel had spent time discussing the Met Gala. And according to Joy, she had absolutely no patience for it. "I didn't even want to watch it," she admitted. Brian laughed because during the live show, Joy had completely roasted nearly every celebrity outfit shown on screen. She was ruthless, Brian said. Joy didn't deny it. "The outfits are ridiculous," she fired back immediately. But then the conversation turned serious again. Joy began ranting about wealth, billionaires, politics, and what she believed was happening to America. Her tone changed completely. The jokes faded. She talked about people struggling to afford food while billionaires became richer than ever. She mentioned Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. She described modern society as abhorrent. Brian jokingly pointed out that comments like these were exactly why people called her a socialist. Joy didn't hesitate. They can call me whatever they want. Then came the moment that truly revealed how emotional she had become. Joy described running into a woman at a grocery store who praised Donald Trump as the best thing to ever happen to America. Joy said she tried asking the woman why she felt that way. No real answer came. And suddenly Joy realized something disturbing. There's no getting through to people who worship him, she said quietly. For a few seconds, the podcast no longer felt funny. It felt raw, real, exhausted. Brian quickly tried steering the conversation somewhere lighter. And somehow, they ended up talking about Sarah Haynes helping Joy sit down every morning on live television. According to Joy, Sarah had developed a habit of guiding her into her chair as if she might fall. Joy hated it. She won't even let me get my second cheek onto the chair, Joy complained dramatically. Brian nearly fell apart laughing. Keep your hands off my second cheek, Joy snapped. The line instantly became one of the funniest moments of the entire episode. But underneath the humor was another uncomfortable truth. Joy hated feeling old. And Brian could tell. The conversation drifted into aging, fame, loneliness, and how television personalities slowly become trapped inside public perception. Joy admitted that audiences now watched her differently. People treated her carefully. Fragile, like someone who needed help. And she clearly resented it. Then Brian accidentally touched another emotional nerve. He admitted that outside television, he often felt ignored in real life. This is all the attention I get, he joked sadly. Joy immediately understood what he meant. Both of them had spent decades working in television. Both understood how addictive audience attention could become. And once the cameras shut off, silence could feel unbearable. That realization changed the atmosphere completely. Suddenly the jokes about celebrities didn't seem so funny anymore. Because now they were exposing the emotional cost of television fame itself. As the podcast continued, the conversation became unexpectedly emotional. The topic shifted toward family, trauma, and childhood memories that still haunted them decades later. Brian mentioned how actress Jamie Lynn Sigler had opened up earlier on the show about living with multiple sclerosis for years in secret. Joy praised her courage immediately. She had enough Miss Hagas for one lifetime, Joy said softly. For the first time in the episode, both hosts became completely sincere. They talked about how difficult life could become behind fame and success. How people carried invisible pain while still smiling for cameras. Then the conversation drifted somewhere even deeper. Childhood trauma. Brian confessed that one of his earliest memories involved being dragged through a haunted house as a small child. It terrified me for years, he admitted. Joy nodded carefully. She understood exactly how childhood experiences could leave permanent scars. She then told a heartbreaking story about her daughter needing medical treatment as a child and being physically restrained by doctors. Joy admitted it was one of the worst moments of her life. And according to her, the experience changed her daughter forever. The energy in the room became unusually quiet. Even the producers behind the cameras reportedly stopped moving. Then the conversation shifted again toward mothers, aging parents, and loss. Mother's Day was approaching. Brian mentioned how grateful he still was to have his mother alive. Joy's expression changed instantly. I wish my mother were still here, she admitted quietly. Then she said something that completely transformed the mood of the podcast. You can only visit dead relatives in dreams. The room fell silent. Joy explained that sometimes she dreamed about her mother and woke up feeling comforted, but frustrated because dreams couldn't be controlled. You can't use a remote control and decide who you dream about, she said. Even Brian looked emotional at that point. But somehow, despite all the sadness, the conversation still found its humor again. Within minutes, they were discussing dogs waking them up at night, sleep problems, magnesium supplements, and finally the upcoming Webby Awards ceremony. And in classic Joy fashion, she ended the emotional roller coaster with one final joke. When Brian reminded her that Webby Award winners are only allowed to give 5-word acceptance speeches, Joy smirked. I'll keep it brief. Thanks. And just like that, the cameras stopped rolling. But what started as a casual backstage podcast had accidentally become something far bigger. A brutally honest glimpse into celebrity culture. Aging, fame, loneliness, politics, family trauma. and the strange emotional lives hidden behind daytime television smiles.